Okay, we're just going to be testing the microphone. We will get started here in just a few minutes, and we're going to wait for some more people to join us. Thanks so much. Okay, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So first of all, this is the CollegiateLink training for student organizations on campus to kind of learn a little bit more about what CollegiateLink is and kind of some tips and tricks. But first of all, my name is Sammy Bosacki. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Department of Campus Involvement, and I primarily work with the fraternities and sororities on campus and the student organization. So we're really excited to bring this webinar to you tonight. It's the final one in our series that we had this spring. We're really looking forward to it, kind of show you a little bit more in depth about it. So first, I just want to explain that this is a webinar format for the night. This webinar is being recorded and will be saved to this YouTube account, SCSU Involvement. So after this presentation, if you really liked it or you want to share this with some of your other friends, students, leaders, go ahead. You can find that link on our YouTube channel, and you can, you yourself can watch it, or you can share it with whoever you would like. So we did want to explain that there's a chat function. You'll see that to the right of your screen, and this is where you can go ahead and type in any questions or comments that you have throughout the webinar, and then that way, if you have anything that you want me to follow up on or go back to, I can kind of come back to that or do it as we go along or come back to it at the end. So just wanted to let you know that you will have to be signed in with a Google account to type in the chat. So you can go ahead and do that now, log in with a Google account, and then you'll be able to use that chat function throughout the night. So to get us started, I would love to see who's joining us. So if you're here with a student organization, please type in the chat the name of the student organization you're representing, and maybe if you're an officer, you can type in what position you currently hold. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and keep going. As I mentioned, feel free to use that chat as we go along, and we can kind of if we have questions or comments, like I said, we can kind of add those in as we go, or we can come back to them at the end. So first, what we're going to have is kind of an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, what is CollegiateLink? Some of you may have heard of it before. Some of you may have never experienced using it. So we kind of just want to talk through what it is a little bit more in detail. Then we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about each of the functionalities of the system. And then kind of talking about how student organizations or departments or services use them at St. Cloud State. And then we will be doing a walkthrough. So I will actually pull up CollegiateLink, and we will be able to show you live how each of those things work and how you can utilize some of those functions. And then, as I mentioned, questions, we'll have time at the end, and we can go through those if you have any. So first, what is CollegiateLink? So this is a screenshot of what it looks like, and you'll see it more in detail here in a minute. But CollegiateLink is basically an online software that is designed for universities and colleges to help with campus engagement and involvement. So I kind of like to call it an involvement hub of sorts. So at St. Cloud State, we use CollegiateLink for many reasons. Our office hosts the student organization registration process through CollegiateLink. This process happens for all of our student organizations each fall, over the summer and the fall. So that's really useful for us. We use this for our student organization awards application process, the involvement transcript, which I'll show you guys as well. Also, we use it for different registrations, different online forms, and kind of as a portal to all of our registered student organizations. So it's really helpful for us to kind of be able to have a list and kind of that active, updated account of all of the registered student groups and clubs that we have. And then we also share this with outside people. Anybody can access the main site, but obviously you have to have a St. Cloud State email address to kind of log in and get some of those functions. So it's really, really useful for anyone that is interacting with St. Cloud State University. So basically, there's a variety of different functions on CollegiateLink. There's a profile where you can kind of add information about your organization. There's a news function, events, roster, a gallery, documents, forms, service hours, and elections. And like I said, we'll be walking through all of those. But those are the main kind of functions that come with it for student organization. So I'm going to get out of here so that we can log or see the live version of it. So as I mentioned, that was a screenshot. All you'll have to do is go to stcloudstate.collegiatelink.net. And that'll take you right to this homepage here, which will give you the sign in now button. And then of course you'll be able to kind of get a highlight of some different events that are happening on campus and kind of an overview of what the system looks like. So to sign in, you'll use your star ID and password. So for the purpose of this webinar, I'm using an account so that you can see what it'll look like when you log in. So just make sure to log in using your star ID and password, as I mentioned. And then this is what you'll see if you're a student organization. So I am using an account that's associated with the Interfraternity Council for tonight, as I mentioned, so that way you can kind of see what it looks like from the perspective of a student leader within an organization. So if you are the president or the social media chair or the treasurer, and you're connected to a profile on CollegiateLink, this is what you'll see when you come in. So, up here at the top, we have some different messages and kind of some really good important information for all of our student leaders. And then you'll see here in this middle section, any of the organizations that you are connected with on CollegiateLink. And then of course, you'll kind of see this event section as well, which is really helpful to kind of see what's going on campus and what's coming up if you're interested. Then as you continue to scroll, you'll see kind of some news feed. Different organizations that post articles through their news function will appear here. So this is a really cool way to kind of also maybe get a little bit more in depth about whether it's an event or kind of an activity or a program that other groups are putting on. So some of the other pieces I wanted to point out before we head into an actual profile of a student organization is this menu up here at the top right corner of your screen. The first is the events section. So this kind of takes you to the full calendar of events that's on CollegiateLink. So you'll see here is our webinar, and we have a couple of other awesome things coming up. But this gives you the opportunity to search for different events. You can click on a particular date and it will show you what's happening on that date. There's different categories and themes here as well. And then of course you can kind of scroll through and see what's coming up as well. So kind of all in one place for different events that are hosted by student groups and other departments on campus. The other piece, so if you go back up to that top menu for organizations, this will take you to the full list of all of our registered student organizations on campus and any profile that's here on CollegiateLink. We do have some services and departments that are on here as well, which is really cool, but of course all of our student organizations. So you can scroll through and you see, our 200 plus student organizations, but you can also search. So if there's a specific type of organization or an organization that maybe is focused on a certain area that you're interested in, you can search that in here and it will pull up any that are associated with that phrase or that word. Of course, you can search the directory by alphabet. So if you know the name, you can go ahead and click on the letter that it starts with, but then also categories. So this is awesome because if you are looking for a group that may be specifically tied to sports and recreation, you can go ahead and click on that and it will pull up all of those student organizations within that category. So that's just another kind of helpful tool when you're browsing through this section. And then, just some different helpful campus links. And then if you follow all the way over, you'll see this little magnifying glass function. This search bar will allow you to search anything within CollegiateLink. So whether that's events or organizations or news feeds. So if you type in sports, for example, it'll kind of bring up anything that's related to that. So it's just a really helpful tool as you're going through the system. And then all the way to the right of that menu is kind of it would be your profile as a student or faculty or staff member as you log in. So it'll give you different menus related to your specific profile if you want to change any of the settings or if you have messages. But this involvement section will be really helpful, and we'll come back and touch a little bit more on this as we go along. But first, we're going to head back to the home page. So if you click on the top left corner, St. Cloud State University, it'll take you back to the home page of CollegiateLink. So for the purpose of this, we're going to go through a profile, as I mentioned, as a student leader, so you can see kind of the functionalities of that from the perspective of a student leader within an organization. So kind of the first section, when you click on your profile, you'll see the home. You'll be at the home page of your profile. This will allow you to see any events that you have coming up, the photos, news articles that you have within your organization. So then the second one within that menu is the news category. So this is where you'll be able to create any kind of those news postings, or if you want to update campus about something really exciting that happened, or maybe one of your members won some national award, you can post an article here. And what you'll do how to do that is clicking on this blue Create Article button. And it's really as simple as creating a title, adding a summary of that news article, which will show on that homepage. And then once they click the article, they'll be able to read the body here as well. So you can put any of the information that you would like in there. And then, of course, adding an image to that as well. And then it allows you to kind of narrow down who you want to be seeing this. So you can open it to the public, so that will allow anybody to see it. Otherwise, you can narrow it down to maybe just people within your organization. If you have a message specifically for them, you can click any of these buttons to kind of narrow down that target for your group. And then, of course, you can save, and it'll post in your news section here. And like I mentioned, on the homepage of CollegiateLink as well. So that's a really fun option for student groups. Next is the About section. So this provides information about your organization. And this is really important to keep updated, because this is what a lot of students or other outside entities will be looking for, if they want to learn more about your organization, or if they want to know when you meet. This is a really good way to kind of add more information so people can go ahead and get in contact with you. And of course, the way to edit your About section, if you come over to the right-hand side, you'll see this Edit button. And that will allow you to change any of this information at any time. So you can go in and update any of this if your contact information has changed, if you maybe have an outside website, or if you have any social media, you can add that all in here so that students that are visiting your page can easily access any of that. And then your meeting time or any of that other information that you're interested in updating. Your profile picture is actually this little circle image on your home screen. This is also what shows up in the organization's listing. So you can change that by going to About, and under Edit, you can change that profile picture. Next is Events. So you can click on that Next tab. So Events is one of the coolest functions, I think, for CollegiateLink at St. Cloud State. This is really the opportunity and just another really awesome way to promote what your organization is doing on campus, and is a really good way to kind of get it out there. So of course, you'll see here if you have any events that are upcoming or maybe past events, it's all logged and tracked in here, so you can go back and see those at any time. If you want to create an event, you will hit this blue button to create event, and you'll simply fill out the form that is on here. So you'll put in the title of your event, whatever it's called. You'll select one of these themes, which kind of helps narrow down the events, and then also that's connected to a mobile app, which we'll talk about in a second as well. And then adding any important information and details as much as you can about your event so that people know what to expect. You can add, of course, your date of your event and what time it starts and ends. You can also add a location. So if you're on campus, you can add, specific rooms, or if you're off campus, you can add an address, and you can create, edit maps and all this really helpful information to help attendees know where they're going. You can also add event details. So specifically here, you can narrow down who exactly you want to be able to see this. So anyone in the world would be anyone that publicly goes to the CollegiateLink homepage could see that, click on it, and get more information. Students and staff would be specifically people that log in using their star ID and password. Organization members, this would be only people that are on your roster. And then people invited by the host. So obviously only the people that would get invited to this specific event. You can also see, who you would like to RSVP. If you only have a certain amount of spots, you can, make sure that people know that, and, you can kind of manage that piece of the RSVPs and knowing how many guests are going to come to your event. Event categories is really helpful. This again just kind of helps narrow down and give more specific details about what type of event you are hosting and what kind of that includes. And then perks is kind of fun, just a little bit of a good way if you have free food or maybe some free giveaways at your events, just to kind of show your attendees what's happening. So once this is entered and and goes through the process of being put up on the opportunity board, it will be obviously on this CollegiateLink homepage. This is also a live feed through the St. Cloud State Campus Involvement Student Organization website. So that's just another way that it is promoted. And it also is on a mobile app, which is called Cork. This app is something that our office uses quite often, and it's a really awesome functionality for students on campus to kind of have those events right there in the palm of their hand. And I'll talk about that a little bit more toward the end of this webinar. So the next one is the roster function, which is really useful for helping manage your organization membership. So there's a lot of functionalities within this. Obviously, to invite people, you'll click on this blue button here, which then you can add email addresses. So if you had tabled in Atwood, or if you were at Main Street or Side Street and you collected a list of emails, you can add those in, and it will send those students an invite to be added to your roster. Next, you can message your membership directly through this website. So it's really helpful to be able to, if you need to send an email to everyone that's out here, or maybe a reminder, or if you have an agenda for a meeting, you can email them directly from this website, and you would just create a relay. I can pull that up for you, which allows you to edit and click on which people will receive this message, adding a title, and then it'll give you kind of a link that you would put in the to box of your email address. And it gives you all those steps here at the top to really just a quick and easy way to make sure that you're messaging and reaching all the people within your organization on that roster. Additionally, managing roster. So if you click on this manage roster button, this will allow you to update any of the people that are on your roster and maybe edit their position. So if you click on edit position, you can change their position, add new ones, or kind of give them access in that way. If you go back to public roster, you can also manage positions. So here is where you're able to add new positions, or create different opportunities. If you have a new social media chair, you can add a position by clicking that position button, and you can type in the name of that position. This position type gives you the functionality to allow them different amounts of access and kind of titles within your roster. And then here you'll see access, all access or limited access, which means it just basically gives them additional functionality to use within their CollegiateLink profile. So this is a really cool opportunity if you have a events chair, you can give them limited access, and then they can access and edit all of the events. And then that way, they have that functionality, but maybe they don't have all of this, or maybe they don't need all of these different functionalities. They'll still be able to do what they need to do. So it's really, really customizable and what you need specifically, and what you're looking for out of your leadership. So then, of course, you can see here, this is kind of the roster and the active people that they have listed, and then you can manage this at any time. We do really stress in our office to make sure that you keep this updated at all times. We use the messaging function to send out the e-blast, which sends important updates to our student organizations. So if you aren't listed on your roster, then you won't get access to that information. So we really encourage student leaders to make sure that their CollegiateLink rosters and profiles are updated as often as you need them to be. If you have new leadership or new members, making sure to add those as they come up so that they can get all those awesome updates from our office. Next is the gallery tab. So this is just a really cool way to kind of also promote your organization by creating different photo albums and showcasing different events that you have. So if people wanted to learn a little bit more, they could click on the gallery and see what you're up to, kind of what are some of the things that you do, and kind of get a better sense of what your organization has accomplished. This is also a really good record keeping, maybe for new leaders that want to look back to see, I wonder what they did for that event 2 years ago. They can come back and see the gallery here and look back at those albums and see, get a little bit of insight into those events. So this is a really good way to kind of store photos to make sure they don't get lost in the transition of leadership. So another one of my favorite functions of CollegiateLink is the Documents tab. This is just an awesome resource for our student organization leaders. I can't stress that enough. This allows you to store any important information or, documents or constitutions or, meeting minutes right here on CollegiateLink so that it never gets lost between maybe elections or over the summer. It's kind of all in one place and they're safely stored on here. One of the also really important pieces is adding files and folders. So you can add individual files by clicking that blue button. It's as simple as just uploading the document, titling it, and then you can add what type of document that may be, which will then get added right here into your documents folder. But what I love is this add a folder function. So if you click this gray button, it allows you to create a new folder. So if you wanted to add a specific type of file, you can title that folder, and then you can also select specific people that you want to be able to have access to it. So say you're reviewing applications for a position or something, you can add that into a special folder, and then maybe you only want your executive board to see it. You could click specific position description or specific organization positions, and then you can click those specific positions that would have access to that folder. So it wouldn't be open to the public, but it would be based on that roster that you have. So this is a really cool function and just really, like I said, customized for you. One of the things that's really great is just the ability to have access to all the different documents. So as you can see, there are constitution and bylaws saved in here all the way, dating all the way back to 2012. So it's a really good way to keep track of what organizations are working on, maybe things that you've saved. As you can see here, there's a folder for minutes and there's one for constitution and bylaws, applications. I mean, there's just endless possibilities of things that you can store. And then that way, like I said, you don't have to worry about them getting lost between position holders or, just saving them in a place that everyone can have access to if needed. The next tab is Forms. So this tab functions similar to a Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or any type of those kind of surveying platforms. So if you click Manage Forms, you'll be able to see different forms that you've created in the past, but also it'll give you this blue button to create a form. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this really user-friendly form creator function. So you'll simply come in, name the form that you want to use, when it's open, and then you can also restrict maybe who responds to it. So if you're looking to poll your members about, t-shirt colors that they're interested in ordering or something, you can go ahead and click, which people on your roster you want to have access to this, and then you can click save and add questions. Oop, let me put in tests here so I can show you save and add questions. And then you'll see here, this will take you to a page where you can add different types of questions. So things that, multiple choice or radio button, those little circle buttons, maybe a text field, uploading a document. So there's so many different options here to be able to add a poll, like I mentioned, or kind of gather feedback, or, as I mentioned, our student organization awards were hosted through the forms function on CollegiateLink. So just all different kinds of possibilities, but a really easy and free way to do that for your student organization. The next is service hours. So this is really awesome if you're an organization that does community service or philanthropy, or needs to keep track of different organization obligations. You can have your members track their service hours directly through your profile, which has kind of a double benefit. For the student that is tracking their service hours, they'll always be able to access and check on what types of community service they've done, and it's a super easy way to keep track of that, as well as keeping track of how much service or hours your organization has put in. We have quite a few groups that use this, and it's really awesome to see, how much they've given back to the community and how many hours they've logged. This organization doesn't have any currently on here, but it's super easy. If you have individuals come in, they'll just click add service hours, and all they have to do is put in a description, how long and when they did their service, and then an email. You click create, and then the admin of the CollegiateLink profile will be able to manage service hours using this button. So they'll be able to go in and see, any pending requests, and then they can go ahead and approve those, and then it calculates all the different hours up here at the top. So this is a really awesome function for our student groups. So elections, you can host your elections online, and it's a free way to go about doing that. Essentially, you would just click that create election button. You would put in the name and any information, and then once this is published, it would create an election where people can go in and vote right here online. So this is a really awesome way to kind of bring that digital piece in, and just an easy, simple way to have people vote for the person that they feel is most qualified for that position within your organization. The last tab within the CollegiateLink profile is manage, and this allows you to manage two things. So the first one is interests, which essentially is just the way that your organization is labeled. So as you'll see here, the Interfraternity Council is underneath fraternities, leadership, and a couple of these other interests. And so as you go through as a student organization, you can click through and kind of see maybe which ones would align with your organization, and then you can add those to your interests. And essentially what it helps happen is if people are looking for a sports, or they're looking for a leadership club, and if they type in leadership, it can help pull up this profile. So just kind of a better way to help students find your organization if they're looking for specific interests. So if you go back to manage and click cover photos, this is where it'll allow you to change that cover photo that you kind of see here at the top that's representing your organization. So you can just click browse and add a new photo at any time. So this is a really good way to kind of personalize your page and give it a little bit more feel, and make it so that everybody knows kind of a little bit more about who you are and what you do. So that's kind of the overview of any of the different student organization profiles, as I mentioned, from the lens of a leader within that organization. So if you have administrative access to this, you'll be able to add and use any of these functions throughout your time in that leadership position. But any student has access to some of these other involvement pieces. So if you go back up to that menu at the top right, and you click on that little drop-down menu for your profile, you can click Involvement. And this will take you to some of the pieces that'll really benefit you personally as a student. So we talked about the organization kind of piece and how to manage a student organization on CollegiateLink. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about how to manage your personal profile on CollegiateLink. So once you log in, and if you are connected and on any of the rosters of different organizations on campus, they will show up here in your membership section. So right now you can see this profile is connected to the Interfraternity Council, but if you were listed on any other student organizations, they would also show up here. Now, maybe you held a leadership position and for some reason you weren't added on the roster, or maybe it was a new thing. You can always add past memberships. So this is a really great way to kind of add in some of those pieces. If at the time you didn't put that in CollegiateLink, you can always go back and add those. So it's never too late to kind of keep track of your involvement. And again, CollegiateLink is an awesome way to keep track and kind of keep a record of everything that you're doing while you're at St. Cloud State. So, as I mentioned, if you were a leader of an organization and you didn't have the chance to add it in CollegiateLink, you can go ahead and do that. And then that way all of your experience is kind of tracked and located in one place. If you click on the Events tab, this will show you events that you attended and that you maybe RSVP'd to or said that you attended on CollegiateLink. So kind of, again, just a good way to see what you attended and what you have done during your time at St. Cloud State. The next one is Experiences. So this is a really great way to maybe supplement some of the things that you've done outside of just student organizations. So say you attended the Power and Diversity Conference at St. Cloud State. You can add that as an experience to kind of keep track of all of these awesome things that you've done. So here what you can do is you click Add Experience, and then you would find whichever area you feel would best fit within that experience. These are really great categories that align with our Husky Compact. So if you click on Diversity, for example, you could go in and put Power and Diversity Conference, give a little description, add a date, maybe if you want to, talk about things that you learned at that conference, and then any information or other pieces that you want to have. And then you can go ahead and save, and then it'll just keep track of all of the things that you've done and recorded and added and under your experiences here. So this could be study abroad experiences. This could be research that you've done in a lab here on campus. This could be an internship that you had. I mean, it's endless experiences that you've had and that maybe weren't directly related to a student organization. Interests is just a way to kind of help you as an individual kind of click on different things that you're looking for, which can help you kind of align with some of the organizations that are here at St. Cloud State. Next is service hours. So this is where you as an individual would be able to see how many service hours you've logged and that were approved. Again, just kind of that good tracking piece for you. Submissions is a really awesome way to see maybe if you submitted a form for the Student Organization Awards. This is where you would go to see that submission that you put through. Or, if you registered your student organization from your personal account and you can't remember if you completed it or not, you'll be able to go here and it would show you here which ones you've submitted and gone through. Downloads, if you have any downloads or images or forms that you downloaded, this would just show where you've done that. And then finally, the involvement transcript. So kind of the memberships and the events and the experiences all lead up to the involvement transcript and kind of add into this one document that you can utilize to really help you be successful during your time at St. Cloud State and after as well. So essentially, CollegiateLink collects the information that you've added based on your membership within different organizations, events that you've attended and marked as RSVP'd on CollegiateLink, or those different experiences that you've added. And what it'll do is pull that all into one cohesive document. So here you can see this profile has held these different positions within the organization, how long they were in that position. And then if they added any more details, you could see all of that collected in here. So this is just a really great way to, as I mentioned, kind of keep track of your experiences while you're here. And then you can print this and, maybe take this with you to an interview, or if you're updating your resume, you can look back at your experience and say, oh yeah, I was the so-and-so position of the organization, and that's what I learned, and this is what I did, and just a really awesome way to kind of have it all in one place for you as a student leader. You can print and preview this as a PDF. You can save it to your computer, and you can kind of customize it as well. And then, of course, it's kind of branded to St. Cloud State. So just another really great document to kind of maybe supplement an application that you're applying for, or just a good reference when you're maybe going into an interview or things like that. So we highly encourage all of our student leaders to update this as, whoops, sorry, I'm clicking around too much. Update this as frequently as you can, adding as much detail, and it's never too early to start your involvement transcript. Really, we talk to students all the time about starting it as soon as you start at St. Cloud State, because then you can track it as you're going through versus trying to update all of this as you're on your way out, or you're, maybe your last semester and you're trying to update and figure out all the things that you've done. But if you do it as you go throughout your college career, you can look back and have all of it kind of ready and at your fingertips when you're looking to review and kind of reflect on some of your experience. The other thing that I wanted to go back to and I had mentioned earlier was the Cork App. So as I said, the Cork App is downloaded. You can download it from, let me log out here and I will show you. So here you'll see a highlight here of Cork. So essentially, as I mentioned, it's connected directly to our CollegiateLink at St. Cloud State, and it will have a listing of all of the events happening directly on your phone through this app. You can get it on Google Play and the App Store. And essentially, as a student organization, if you post events, it'll show up for any students that have the app. You can click on any of them, get the information, find out where it is, when it's happening, all of that. And it's a free app that, like I said, is directly connected, and you'll be able to see any of these events or also access the list of organizations directly on there. So just a really great way to kind of show that there's multiple components and kind of feeding into CollegiateLink and vice versa. So a lot of really awesome opportunities with CollegiateLink, as I mentioned, directly for student organizations, but also for individuals as well. So that kind of concludes the presentation specifically on CollegiateLink. We always, as student organization support staff, are happy to meet with different leaders to talk more in depth about CollegiateLink, or if you have certain initiatives or goals that your organization is working on, we're more than happy to connect with you and kind of brainstorm some different ways to utilize CollegiateLink to make your life as a student leader easier and more accessible. So we love working with different groups and kind of helping process through, or maybe if you're brand new to the system, we can walk you through some of those functions in more detail. And or if you're interested in bringing us into one of your executive board meetings or your officer meetings, we can talk with more of your members and kind of walk you through all of those functions as well. So we do have a few upcoming trainings. As I mentioned, this was the last of our webinar series, but we have some upcoming trainings for students on campus in specific areas. So the next one we have is money management, and we're lucky enough to be working with some special guests from Affinity Plus who are experts in helping manage money and budgeting. So please join us for that. You'll see the information here. It's on April 11th at 11 a.m. in Blizzard Room in Atwood. So that'll be a really awesome way to kind of just talk more about money and how to effectively manage that. And next, we have a couple of training sessions on different topics such as recruitment and retention. That'll be on Monday, April 17th. This will give some insight onto how to gain more members, how to keep the members that you have, and how to grow your organization as a whole. This will be held all of these will be held in the Union Room on the first floor of Atwood. The next one is April 17th at 1 p.m. and this will be on time management. So as you know, our student leaders are balancing classes, maybe work, leadership positions, organizations, events, all these different types of things. And it can be stressful to keep track of all of that. So this will talk you through how to manage all those different roles, what that looks like, some tips and tricks, and some help in kind of talking through what does that look like and how to be successful at time management. And then finally, a final kind of training on officer transitions. This is a time of year when a lot of elections and new officers are coming into these positions. So you don't want to miss an update on how to make that process move smoothly and kind of helping that transition from the previous officer to the new incoming officer. So that one's going to take place on April 19th at 2 p.m. in the Union Room. So we have a lot of awesome, great things coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we hope that you're able to join us for some of those. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about CollegiateLink and all of the endless possibilities that it has for our students, for our faculty and staff, and our organizations on campus. So again, my name is Sammy Bosacki. I'm one of the assistant directors, and here's my contact information if you do have any other questions or would like to touch base and maybe learn a little bit more. If you have any other questions, we can answer those there as well. So I will say, for just a few more minutes to answer any questions in the chat that people might have. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. And if there's anything we can do to help you with your organization, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. So thanks again. I will hang out here to see if anyone has any questions. And other than that, we will talk to you soon. Thank you. So it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. So we're going to go ahead and end the webinar for this evening. Thank you so much.